Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Concern for the kids who were moved from one psychiatric hospital to another after a traumatic experience with an unannounced active shooter drill. More than a year after Local 4 investigators broke a story about some disturbing things happening inside Hawthorne Children's Psychiatric Hospital.
Now, a local lawmaker is asking for state hearings to find out who knew what when. So let's give you a little bit of context right now. The story began back in December of 2022. That's when an active shooter drill inside that state-run hospital got national attention. Months later, I told you those children got moved to another state-run facility and then exposed what went down there. Now, today, there's a new twist to the story involving a state senator. There are questions about how well Walter P. Reuther Hospital is being run and how the children are being treated.
What's going on inside the Walter Reuther Psychiatric Hospital in Westland?
The transition over there from Hawthorne to Reuther was not good. It was rushed.
That's what State Senator Michael Weber is asking after he just toured the facility. The senator is worried the build out for the children is still not complete.
But they definitely tried to retrofit this very old building to now accommodate both adults and kids. I still have a lot of concern about the kids and the adults interacting.
It's not the first time we reported on how these kids were treated here. It was last summer. A whistleblower came forward telling us the young patients were not being allowed outside.
Someone has to stand up for what's right. They're forgotten that it's a healthcare facility, not a correctional facility.
There were also reports windows were blocked out, the children not getting sunlight.
The reason is because they don't want the adult patients looking at the younger patients outside in the courtyard area.
And remember, it's because of this unannounced active shooter drill that happened at the Hawthorne Children's Psych Hospital, the story we first broke.
Put your hands on top of your head, facing me!
That caused the kids to be moved to Walter Reuther.
They do this drill unannounced, scare the heck out of them all, and then say, uh-oh, let's move them. But then now we're not ready.
Yeah,
they made two big mistakes.
Yes, yeah, oh, for sure.
What about the quality of life for these kids?
So the rooms we looked at, you could see outside, and that was an improvement. But we still hear from the parent groups that the food is a problem.
And these kids are losing weight.
And they're losing weight, yeah, because they're not getting the nutrition.
Another concern the senator has, the potential for escapes from Walter Reuther.
With some of the escapes that they had at Hawthorne, obviously, you could see where there's potential there for stuff going on. When we did a tour of Reuther, the head of the hospital system in Michigan admitted that it was very easy to escape from Hawthorne. And my question would be, why was it so easy, and why didn't we try to rectify that over the years?
Right? Why wouldn't you fix it? What is next? Well, Senator Weber has asked for an Auditor General's report. That's expected to start in the spring or the summer. Right now, he's hoping to hold some hearings to hold the Department of Health and Human Services accountable. He says the problem needs to be fixed. We really owe it to these kids. This is the only psych hospital for children in the state.
In the whole state. Yeah. We've been wondering what the state would have to say about this, and you've just finally gotten some response.
I would say just a few moments ago, we got the email. We asked a ton of questions. The Department of Health and Human Services sent us an email answering some of those questions. I can't read the whole response, so we will get that posted to click on. But one of the critical points they made is that they are dedicating millions of dollars to increasing access to mental health services for all Michiganders, which we have reported on, and it's a huge problem.
We'll let you go through what their response was to it. Now, apart from that, from your investigation, there's been another story developing about a violent altercation between two children inside the Walter Reuther.
Yes, and this story just broke just a couple hours ago. Some heartbreaking video right there showing a 10-year-old mental health patient being attacked by another 15-year-old patient. You can clearly see the staff sitting by, watching this beating happen before finally stepping in. This was this past October. Now a local mom filing a $100 million lawsuit over the beating of that 10-year-old child who had been admitted for mental and emotional issues. That lawsuit claims the staff didn't just watch the attack, but encouraged it.
For several seconds, she stomps and beats Princeton. She knocks his tooth up into his gum. Princeton has some brain damage behind this based on a brain imaging study.
Trusting the staff in this facility to take care of him, provide him with his needs because he's now under their care, and the fact that they were that negligent and responsible and did nothing to protect him, there's no words.
Tonight, the family is asking why no one has been arrested, why the facility is still allowed to operate. Questions that we're still working to get answers to tonight. We'll stay on top of it. By the way, there's one clip of video that we didn't even post yet, and it's one of the workers stomping on the child's fingers. They were under the door, and they were stomping on them. So
One of the staff members.
Yes, one of the staff members.
This is so hard to watch because we already know that by definition, this is already a heartbreaking situation for so many families.
I mean, the mother put her child in there because he was having emotional issues. He just needed help, and now he just doesn't even understand why that happened to him. So we did post all of these reports because we have so many on this facility and documents and video. We made sure that we have that on clickondetroit.com for you to check out. And as we say, we are going to stay on top of this.
We urge you to watch them, though. All right, Karen. Let's talk about the weather a little bit, just as it was kind of a come and go sort of little snowstorm that rolled in today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was over in Dearborn, and I just got hit by that snow, and then all of a sudden, it was gone.
Kim?
Yeah, today was just kind of a classic winter storm. It came in on time and left on time as well. And now we've even seen a couple of breaks of the sun just as the sun is setting now over the skyline here in Metro Detroit. 37 degrees downtown, low 30s in Howell, mid 30s in Pontiac, 36 in Adrian. Pretty much upper 30s to right around 40 degrees in the downtown area. Snowfall totals today, about what we expect, a little more to the north. Some areas north of I-69 did pick up 3 inches or better, but Wyandotte 2 inches. The rest of Metro Detroit, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. 1.5 inches, though, this is interesting. Plymouth, Port Huron, Roseville, White Lake, and Goodrich all reported exactly 1.5 inches of snow. We'll talk about a 50-degree day that's in the forecast coming up.
All right, Kim. Kansas City police are revealing a little more today about what may have sparked yesterday's mass shooting at the Super Bowl rally in KC. An estimated 1 million fans were there celebrating Wednesday just before the gunfire rang out. We know of more than 20 victims who were injured. At least one person was killed. Everyone's been waiting to learn about a possible motive and about whether random people were targeted or anything here happened on purpose. Today, police say that does not appear to be the case.
This appeared to be a dispute between several people that ended in gunfire.
Kansas City police giving an update on Wednesday's mass shooting during the Super Bowl victory rally for the Chiefs. Many of the nearly 24 gunshot victims are children.
At least half of our victims are under the age of 16.
Killed in the gunfire, a popular local DJ, 43-year-old Lisa Lopez Galvin.
Lisa leaves behind an incredible legacy.
As friends remember her, some recall their own terrifying moments running from the gunshots.
And all of a sudden, through the partitions, a wave of people come rushing through, screaming, gun, run, police are coming.
In the chaos that followed, at least one armed suspect was tackled by those in the crowd.
When I hit him from behind, I either jarred the gun out of his hand or out of his sleeve, because as I'm taking him down to the ground, I see the gun on the ground.
I want to thank the people who acted bravely yesterday alongside law enforcement.
Police confirmed they are looking at a number of suspects. Multiple weapons were recovered at the scene. Several Kansas City players expressed their outrage on social media and concern for the victims. One attendee recalls seeing head coach Andy Reid minutes after the ordeal.
I will never forget finally coming out of the bathroom after hiding, and around the corner comes Andy Reid with his grandchildren and his wife. And he said, as he walked by, "Are you guys okay?" That moment of humility is incredible.
Wow. 2 of the 3 people in custody, by the way, are juveniles. A Justice Department spokesperson says the feds have set up a website. They continue to ask for tips or people who have video of what happened at FBI.gov.
The week after his wife's conviction, attorneys for James Crumbley are fighting to get his trial moved. The father of the Oxford High School shooter doesn't want his trial to take place in the same courtroom where Jennifer Crumbley was found guilty on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. He's facing the same charges for each student who died. The motion argues they won't be able to set an impartial jury due to the extensive media coverage of his wife's trial. Similar motion was rejected back in 2022, but that was before his wife's trial. A hearing is set for next week.
Metro Detroiters will have the chance to cast their votes ahead of the February 27th election this year. While the primary election is just under 2 weeks away, early in-person voting is now an option for the first time ever in Michigan.
And that's because in November of 2022, Michigan voters overwhelmingly approved a constitutional amendment giving voters the right to vote at early voting sites before statewide and federal elections. So, what's the difference between early voting and absentee voting, and who qualifies for it?
Rod Maloney live with us now with what you need to know to make sure your ballot is counted. Rod.
Kara, Devin, take a look at this. The early voting right now in 2024, when we start it this weekend, it's only going to be 9 days long. But there is a limit on it, and it's much bigger than just the 9 days, but 29 days. That could be coming in the years ahead. Based on the 2022 election, there are now 3 ways for Michiganders to vote. From home with an absentee ballot, early in-person voting, which is the same as the traditional election day, but with limited polling places, and then the regular election day in-person voting. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson says early in-person is really just like regular day of in-person voting.
A voter comes in, gets their ballot, marks their ballot, and enters it into the voting tabulator. Those ballots will be counted on Election Day.
When it comes to early in-person, the Secretary of State's office says voters from more than one precinct, city, or township may be assigned to a single shared early voting site. And while it sounds confusing, some voters may only have one assigned early voting site, while others may have several locations to choose from. And in rural communities, entire cities or counties may share early voting sites. Mary Clark is the Delta Township Clerk. She says early voting helps with the request she's received a lot over the years.
Absentee voters frequently, very frequently, ask for the opportunity to put their own ballot in the tabulator, and this new process affords voters this opportunity.
Just not at the same time. It's an either-or proposition. Starting this weekend, the early voting will last 9 days, starting on Saturday the 17th, and then running through February 25th. The primary election day is February 27th for regular in-person voting. Now, the Secretary of State's office says that if you're going to be coming and voting, you need to be registered, or at least they want you to be registered. Now, if you go to a clerk's office and the office is open and they have early voting, you can register and then go ahead and vote. They also say, please bring a photo ID. It's not required, but if you don't have one, you're going to have to fill out paperwork in order to be able to vote. Reporting live, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
All right, Rod, and you can expect a lot more from our Local 4 team during this election season by scanning the QR code on your screen. You can find your early voting location. You can view a sample of your specific ballot and confirm whether or not you're registered to vote even in this primary election. If you can't scan the code, we've got all the information posted at the election section of clickondetroit.com.